Hey, hello everybody. Sarah, good to see you, darling. Matt, William. Let's see, who else do we have here? Let me see. I thought I saw someone I hadn't seen. What was the name? Did you see it, Doc?
No, but you can scroll up. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Gulf Coast Girl.
Ah,
Hey, Gulf Coast Girl. Thank you for joining us. And my Dune brother is here. Hey, Krusty. Glad to see you. Oh, I am so glad everybody's here tonight. William, you got work early. That's good. Oh, Gulf Coast Girl, so happy you're here with us. Okay, guys. We're going to have a good night. I can only work part-time due to I know your lupus is bad, darling. I know mornings aren't my thing either, honey. I'm part vampire. I'm a night person. What can I tell you? You can ask some of the others. I just do not get going in the morning. Well, welcome back, my truth seekers and my warriors of justice. I'm Z, your storyteller, in this wilderness of injustice, through the darkness, mapping the twisted roads where the predators hunt and justice fails. As always, you know my ride or die is here with me, Doc. He's riding
hey.
shotgun. I wouldn't know what to do without him. He keeps me sane, you guys. He keeps me sane.
Well, that's hard because I'm kind of insane.
We even each other out, baby. We even each other out. So we're going to tell the stories that are forgotten and that the system would really like us to leave buried, okay? But buckle up. We're going to get bumpy here as we lead you through another crazy chamber house of horrors that they call our justice system, because that's what it is, people. And it's very important that we have storytellers now. Social media is giving us a chance to be these storytellers. And it's important we use that time because it seems like we're forgetting our history. They're not teaching our history anymore. So we have to tell our stories. We do it on social media. So buckle up and here we go. Today we're going to dive into this case that has haunted the Lac de Flambeau Reservation in northern Wisconsin for over 3 decades, you guys. A young mother, she vanished after a late night party in 1990, leaving behind 2 small children. 6 months later, hunters made a grim discovery in the not going to be able to say it.
Chiquamagon.
Thank you, baby. Chiquamagon National Forest. I really tried, you guys. Chiquamagon National Forest. This is the story of Susie Poupart and 3 men who many believe got away with murder. Okay? I want to acknowledge that this case involves an Indigenous woman and sadly represents just part of the crisis that we have with the MMIWG, which is murdered and missing Indigenous women across North America. And as Susan's son Jared put it, if my mom were white, we wouldn't be where we are today. It would have been solved by now. Isn't that terrible? But let me set a scene for you guys. The Lac de Flambeau Reservation spans about 86,000 acres in northern Wisconsin. You can see up there on the map where all the red is. That is the town and the reservation. Now, Lac du Flambeau means Lake of the Torches in French. And this was due to the tribe's tradition of fishing and harvesting the fish by using light with their torches. And when the settlers or the French trappers came along and saw the lake lit up, that's how it got its name, Lake of the Torches. So today, approximately 1,500 tribal members reside there along, there's a substantial non-native population in the area also. But Susan was a sculptor and an artist, and she had studied at the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe in the 1980s. Of course, she met a guy. It always starts with she met a guy. And then she ended up having her son. And so after learning she was pregnant, she went from Santa Fe with her boyfriend, with Alex's father, or no, it wouldn't have been Alex's father, it would have been Jared's father, to hit the home state of New Hampshire. But the family was not very welcoming. They were prejudiced against this young Ojibwe woman. And so after her boyfriend then started turning violent, Susie returned to her childhood home and the Lac du Flambeau Reservation where her parents and siblings and other relatives were living. You know, she went to work as a waitress at the tribal casino. She was going to support her children, and she loved them dearly. Jared was 9, and Alex, or Alexandra, was 3 at the time. And this is May 20th, 1920. So in 5 days, it's going to be 35 years, you guys, in just 5 days. She decided to go out that night. She was a responsible mom, but you know, like all good moms, you need a night off. For some reason, her mother, they said, had a premonition and really told Susie she wanted her to stay home. But, you know, they said Susie was strong-willed and she didn't take crap from anybody. And she just really needed a day off or night off. So her sister was going to babysit. And she decided that, you know, she would go ahead and go enjoy herself. Now, Jared would later recall how attentive his mom was. He talked about how whenever he'd wake up in the morning, his clothes would be all laid out. And she'd have him dressed up so nice. She said, I'd have button-up shirts, and dress pants, and shoes. And he said, that's how she sent me to school every day. So, you know, being 9, he knew his mom really well, and he loved her. And even though Grandma had that premonition, you know, she's like, you know, I gotta go. So she went. And this was her friend's brother was going off to the military. So they were having a farewell party for him. And after they, I guess, had partied at the bar, they went to Montauk Trail and the reservation and had continued the party. And it continued until like 4 a.m. And Susie finally was ready to go. And they said she left with 2 men, Joseph Cobb and Robert Elm. Now, this is where some of the counts are going to get a little different. Some people said she went willingly. There was a witness that said she thought they forced her into the vehicle. Others said, you know, I didn't see that. Maybe she was just too intoxicated to make a clear decision. You know, and it's hard to tell because we're talking about 1990. Well, Susie failed to return home to pick up her kids. And then a couple of days went by and her mom and sister knew something was wrong. And so they reported her missing. Now, there were searches conducted by the Vilas County Sheriff's Office, and they found no evidence of her. And I mean, they did search. They had dogs, and they searched on foot. They had planes. So they were really looking for her. It wasn't like they didn't take it seriously when she was when they said she was missing. The police did. And at this time, there were no tribal police. So that's why they had to use the Vilas County Sheriff's Office. 6 months later, on Thanksgiving Day in 1990, there were some hunters in Kelly? Chequamegon. Thanks, Doc. Chequamegon Nicolette National Forest. And they made a disturbing discovery. About 12 miles from where the party had been held, they found Susie's purse. Her tribal identification was in it. There was a jacket underneath a log, and when they pulled out the coat, that's when they found a human jawbone. So they said that they had actually like tied up her coat and stuff because they had to go get the sheriff's department, and they wanted to make sure they could bring them right back to where they were. Because this wasn't You know, like the case with Emily Pike, we know she was left pretty close to the roadway. This was not that situation. She was left in this forest. And if it hadn't been for a couple of hunters, she wouldn't have been found. Now, Sheriff Joseph Foth, who has been involved with the case from the very beginning, but now he's sheriff, so he's the lead investigator. At the time, he was just part of the team. He said, we knew at the crime scene that she'd been murdered because they found not only her clothing, which was separate and also had not had any like animal activity, like holes or anything, like they had been ripped off. They found that. They also had plastic, duct tape, and they said they thought that was in efforts to try and hide her remains because she was underneath the woods, you know, or as you can see in the pictures, it was kind of like underneath all these logs. So they were trying to hide her body. But the location is really revealing because Detective Remrick explains this is a place that the average person is not going to show up, you guys. This isn't a hiking trail. This isn't somewhere where we take the Sunday afternoon family and let's go out and check things out. But it was a place where the hunters went. So since this was a hunting place, they knew it was someone that knew the area. And he describes the area as really dense cedar. It was swamp about 100 yards from a forest road. So they took her in there quite a ways. But due to the significant decomposition after months in the elements, the investigators really couldn't determine the cause of death. But they ruled it a homicide because they could tell by the way the clothing was separate, that there was the plastic bag, you know, the tape. They knew she had been deleted. Her remains were so minimal, they said it fit into one Ziploc bag. And they said they don't think it was that somebody had done anything to her body, but because of the animal activity in the area, that's why there wasn't a lot left. So from the beginning, right away, suspicion fell on two men who were the last to be seen with her, Joseph Cobb and Robert Elm. They were questioned. They claimed they offered her a ride home. She got in an argument, and so they dropped her off near the tribal school, which is now the Lake of Torches Casino. Okay? So we got this picture painted. They get in a fight. They drop her off. Well, if you look at this picture, you see where Susie lives. Because she lived in her original parents' home. Okay? She lived there with just her children. Her parents no longer lived with her, but she had the family home. The party was down closer into the town. And yet they took her and dropped her off at which is now the casino. But at that time, it was the school. It's the wrong direction if you were taking her home. And that's what Sheriff Bath said. He said, it's suspicious. Susie's house would have been turning right when it comes to Little Pines. They didn't turn right. They went left. He said something happened in that vehicle. Probably an argument. They pulled over and they dropped her off at the school. He says, I think they stayed with her for a while. He says, I think something got out of control. He says, I don't know exactly what the sequence of events were, but these two guys are familiar with the area because they hunted there where she was found. You know, deer is a big thing that they hunt in that area. And they think that they would have been comfortable taking her out there. They also made the comment that not too long after she was found, they both took off and left. And that was suspicious. Now, a third man's name comes up, and it's Francis Fritz Schumann. Now, he is Robert Elms's cousin. And according to the sheriff, Schumann's name was mentioned early on by individuals who came forward with information about Susan's case. Because of the fact that when he went back to the party, because he left also, he came back to the party, someone had mentioned they saw drops of blood on him. But that's all we find out about him, because the next thing you know, when they finally get to where they can talk to these people, because Wisconsin has this unique proceeding, you guys, it's called the John Doe hearings. It kind of sounds like a grand jury, but it's done with a judge, okay? So the judge initiates these John Doe hearings, and it's to determine if there's a crime that's been committed in the court's jurisdiction. The judge can subpoena and examine witnesses identified by the district attorney. So this is something you only see in Wisconsin. And here are two of the gentlemen. In Susan's case, there were 3 separate John Doe hearings. Okay, Moo, you sound like an old 35-year-old smoker. Really? Okay.
I think she's crying at her shadow.
She sees herself, I guess. Poor thing. So, if Moo will let us, we'll get back to our story. So, they held 2 in the early 90s, and then a third in 2007. Now, during the 2007 hearings, Fritz Schumann appeared but provided little information. Elm pleaded the Fifth Amendment, refusing to answer any questions, and Cobb didn't even bother to show up at all. So Sheriff Thoth commented on their silence. He said, to me, it was suspicious. Why wouldn't you tell us the truth or answer the questions the district attorney asked you? He said, yes, it's their right. But, if you don't have anything to hide, why aren't you just saying, hey, this is what happened? So their lack of cooperation has consistently upset the investigators, because they think there's this close family relation that they may have shared information with. And we've tried over and over again to sit down with them and get information. So these officers have really tried to get to the bottom of this. They interviewed everybody that they could find from that party, but you have to remember, most of them were drinking. It was a farewell party. By the time some of them finally talked to the police, it was a situation where they might not have remembered too clearly. So after Susan's murder, her children, Jared, who's now 44, and Alexandra, who's 38, they really went through some tough times, you guys. Here, Jared talked about how lovely his mom was and how, he had such good memories, but now they got separated. The little one, who was Alexandria, who was 3, who goes by Alex, she went with her aunt, and Jared went with his grandmother. And then there were times they actually got put into foster care, and then there were times they were even homeless. And he recalls the devastating impact on his grandmother, because you remember, she had the premonition and tried to get Susie not to go. And he said, that broke my grandmother's heart. He said, she had to live with that. And I lived with my grandma, so he had to live with it. He said she cried all the time. She tried to kill herself a couple of times with insulin. He said, I had to stop her. So think of that poor child having to stop his grandmother, because she just could hardly face losing her daughter, because she loves Susie so much. So the siblings really kind of grew up disconnected from each other because they didn't grow up together. But Alex said, me and my brother weren't as close as we should have been growing up, but now they've become closer. Hey, Fala, glad you joined us, sweetheart. So both of them in their younger years did turn to alcohol. And Jared shared that, when he turned to alcohol, he also turned to fighting. And eventually he realized that his mother wouldn't have wanted him to squander his life that way. So today he works as the Tribal Economic Support Program, serves on the Tribal Council, and is raising his son as a single parent. Now, the thing that's so awful about this situation is 2 of these guys have returned to the village or the town. So these 2 kids have to see them all the time. and their families. People have abused these kids, shouting at them that my father didn't do anything to your mother, you know. And Alex, she's now a stay-at-home mother, and she has 5 boys and lives near the house where her mother was last seen. And she said, I dread the day she has to explain to her children, because right now they're all under 9 years old. She said, why they can't see their grandma. She said, my kids are at the age where they don't know about it yet. So they've asked about her and they talk about her, but the deletion thing hasn't come up with them yet. But she knows it will, you know, and that's the sad part. And here is Alex and Jared in front of the huge billboard that has been up for 35 years. They have kept this billboard going. So they're both advocates of justice for their mom. And they're working closely with the sheriff's department. And what's particularly painful for them is the way that they have been harassed. Because he said, me and my sister, we had it taken away that we had a mom. These guys went on to have their lives and have their children and their families. They didn't get that. He said, in Lac de Flambeau, the community, Susan's death has created a rift between those who knew the suspects and her children. There's been nothing but conflict between me and them, Alex said. Jared believes whoever deleted her is carrying a sickness in their soul. They did some evil crap, and I know they feel it every day. And an interesting thing about these two guys is that they work and live in Lac de Flambeau Reservation, and that's Cobb and Elm. And they're raising their families. They're in their mid-50s. The third suspect, Francis Schumann, is reportedly incarcerated for impaired driving. It has nothing to do with Susie's case. So he's currently locked up, but the others aren't. And the sheriff says, we've tried to get them charged with crimes that they have committed since they've come back, because they need to go to prison. He says, we know they've committed violent crimes against women in the past. So they've not changed their stripes. So they're continuing to commit crimes against women. And the sheriff is doing everything he can to lock them up. He noted that both Cobb and Elm moved off the reservation, like I said, right after the murder when she was found. And now they live freely in the community. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine having to look at the people that I think took my mother's life. I mean, no wonder they had a rough childhood, along with just not having a mom. But having to see that every day and witness it, oh man. These are two very strong people, and the fact that Jared has now become somewhat of a community leader is amazing. And he's raising his son by himself. So I'm sure he has memories of what his mom was going through being a single parent. Now, none of these 3 guys have ever been charged, even though they really are the suspects and the only ones that the law enforcement have been able to find in 3 decades. And they did look elsewhere. It wasn't like they had, just this vision that these are the 3 guys that did it. They did chase down leads, because people tried to say, oh, it was someone that came up from Minneapolis. Oh, it could have been these people. It could have been. But everything kept coming back to these people, these 3 guys. So there have been recent developments. And in 2024, the Vilas County Sheriff's Office was awarded $8,570 grant for advanced DNA testing of evidence. Now, you have to remember, though, that $8,570, to some of us, that's a lot of money. Hey, that's a lot of money to me. But to really test everything that they need $25,000 to $30,000. And so there's a YouTube creator. His name is Ron Carlson, and he's the gentleman there talking to the kids. And he has a YouTube page, and it's called Faces of the Forgotten. And I stumbled upon it, and he's really tells some really cool stories. They're not real long. If you get a chance, check him out. But as he saw her billboard and he said, you know what? I need to check this case out. And so as he was checking it out, he said, I will pledge $10,000 for DNA testing. Susie's case on this channel, he says, I will say that I will do this. He said, well, because he said these kids need an answer. And all he had was that faded sign where her face was. And he goes, I'm going to dig into this. And he has. And he has kept up with the kids. He offered the $10,000. And they have talked to the sheriff's department. And they've sent off stuff to be tested. Hopefully soon they will get an answer. Carlson made that pledge. He stuck with it. They said at the moment, so far the sheriff, now I don't know how old some of this information was. I was trying to find more current. I even emailed Ron Carlson, but I haven't heard back. But, you know, he just wants to drive this a little more because he says time is ticking and these killers need to be caught. He said Alex started a GoFundMe to support the DNA testing, and the Wisconsin Indigenous Writers held a motorcycle fundraiser in June 2024. If you get a chance, check out their webpage on Facebook. It's the in Wisconsin Indigenous Writers. They do fundraisers for events like this. The sheriff's office has sent 3 pieces of evidence for analysis using advanced techniques, including forensic grade genome sequencing and genetic genealogy sequencing. And they said there is enough of her belongings there that they're hoping there wasn't so much, you know, degradation of the items that they won't get something. The billboard that features Susie's face has been maintained on that main road. They went ahead and replaced it in 2025. So, you know, because the last one had really faded. So now they've got a new one. So those guys, they might have moved back, but guess what? They got to look at that sign. Good for them. Send them flyers, put it up in their yard. Hey, Sarah. Yeah, Moo is cute. She's nuts. She's my crazy girl. Yeah, Fala's got a herd. I just have cats. But let's see. What he wants is for the community members who know the truth to come forward. This is the sheriff. You know, he says he's confident the people in Lac du Flambeau know what happened to Susie. He says, but no one is approaching law enforcement. He said it's like they're really afraid. So I don't know if they've been threatened. He says, but we are hopeful. We want to keep this in the public eye. We want to keep talking about it. He says, I guess we just need a lucky break. Well, Susan Poupart is a victim of terrible crime. That's not all she was. And that's not the only way she will be remembered. She was described by her friend Ray as a beautiful mom and a person who loved her children and family immensely. Her friends were just as important to her. Ray also described her as having the sweetest demeanor. Other friends said that she helped them out of violent situations with, you know, their partners. So she was there for her friends. She was an artist. She studied at the Institute of American Indian Arts. She wanted to be a sculptor. She was left-handed. She was strong-willed. She was unapologetic about speaking her mind. And Jared shared a tender memory. He says, when I was small, she'd give me an Eskimo kiss, blowing air into my mouth, and my cheeks would puff up, and we'd always laugh. He said, every day I think about my mom. I say hi to her, and I tell her I love her. You know, so he's not forgetting his mom. He says, all that pain, it's still here. It hasn't gone away. You know? He said the case representing the broader crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, Jared noted the lack of attention to the case over the years reflecting the justice system's indifference to Native people. Having no repercussions extended to the suspects has created this destructive trickle-down effect for the whole community. In fact, at one time, even one of the elders had approached the sheriff trying to blame some of the crime and things on this situation that happened with Susie. Like somehow it was her fault that things had gone wrong. It's like, no, it was some people that aren't taking accountability for what they've done. Jared says our next generations of leaders soak up events like this, knowing you can do something horrible to a Native woman and get away with it. He said FATH has worked on it, but I've got to wonder if my mom were white, we wouldn't be where we are today. It would have been solved by now. And that's hard for him to live with. If you have any information about Susie's case, please don't hesitate to get in touch with the Sheriff's Department at 715-479-4441 or leave an anonymous tip through their tip line. And the tip is 411 line. If people are afraid to talk to the sheriff, do it anonymously. But do something. You got to tell someone. Because she deserves justice. Her children deserve justice. And her life does matter. And people are not going to stop until they learn the truth. She has not been forgotten. And that's the case of Susie Poupart today. It's a very sad story, but her children are strong. They're not giving up. I wish there was a way that these tests didn't cost as much. It does baffle me too, Fala, that, that they get so much for these tests. Something needs to be done. But before we go tonight, let's check into our missing people. Paloma Sepeda, who was missing from May 4th from the District 4 Gila River, Arizona. She's been located. So, hey, good news, guys. We like that.
Excellent.
Savannah Standing Bear's parents in South Dakota, they are still searching. They are trying so hard to find their daughter. So let's not forget her. She's one of them that we've covered. Hoi Ki Woo, known as Patricia. Her parents are over in, I think it's Japan. I'm hoping it's Japan and not China. I can't remember, but they're trying to raise money for an investigator. So they're starting a GoFundMe page.
As far as I remember, it was China.
Was it China? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize to her family for that. But, she's disappeared and they have no idea what's happened to her. They've even asked for people that were up there around Tucson at that location where her car was found. If they were up there and you had a GoPro or anything, to please contact the police and let them know so that they can check the cameras. Sadly, no super chats yet because I'm not monetized. Yeah, I think you have to be monetized to do super chats, Sarah. I know it's a bummer, but not there yet. Here's a missing person. He's out of Canada. And the Timmins Police Service is requested the public's assistance in locating Justin. They never gave us a last name for Justin. But contact the Timmins Police Service at 705-264-1201. He's 34. He's male. He's Indigenous, 5'10", 130 pounds, black hair, brown eyes, thin build, and he walks with a limp. So hopefully they can find him. He's one of our missing. Let's see who else we have. Because Doc's slow tonight. Now he'll speed up and I'll be behind. This is an older case because I don't always want to do the recent cases. We can't forget the ones that have been out there a while. On May 5th, 1987, 24-year-old Christine Lester was heading from the Navajo Nation to the Flagstaff Mall to buy gifts for her mom and grandma for the holiday. Christine informed her uncle that she was going to return home by the time he finished work. However, she never came back. It's unclear if she ever reached the mall. And as the days went by, the family filed a missing persons report, but nothing changed. She was never seen again. And then 16 days later, her remains were found on the side of a rural road in Mandra County, California. So Christine's remains went unidentified until 2023, when, thanks to DNA technology, they confirmed to be hers. So she went from where she was headed to the mall there in New Mexico all the way to California. That means someone picked her up. And you almost wonder, there were a lot of truckers that were serial deleters, and you almost wonder if somebody had taken her. So from 1987, because they don't say the date that they actually, well, they said it was 16 days later after she disappeared on May 5th that her remains were found, but it wasn't until 2023 that they identified who she was. So Christine's siblings claimed that they had no idea who deleted her, but received an odd letter addressed to Christine more than 5 years after she went missing. To this date, we don't know who wrote it. She left in 1987, and the letter was written in either 92 or in 1993 is when they got the letter. And it was someone that was messing with the family, because they said she didn't have a boyfriend that we knew of at the time. And Shauna, her sister, said it was explicit. I don't think Chistina would ever do some of the things this guy mentioned. To me, it was, he knew something about Chistina. That letter is now in the hands of the authorities. So that's why I'm thinking maybe a serial deleter. Someone that, I'm reading a book right now that talks about the truckers that were serial deleters. And it's horrendous what some of these guys did. And they're still out there, people. Sadly, they're still out there. So anyone with information on the homicide of Christine Lester, please call the Madra County Sheriff's Office at 559-675-7770 and ask for Detective Louis Paget. You know, the family still wants answers. They want to know what happened to her. Now, this is Melissa June Beeson, and she was last seen in Lac de Flambeau. And she was wearing red sweatpants and a gray sweatshirt. And this just happened. She's Native American. She's 5'7" with medium build, brown hair, brown eyes. She has numerous tattoos, including one on her neck, her arms, and her legs. The police have gotten numerous reports of sightings, all of which have been investigated and determined to be cases of mistaken identity, or in some instances, cruel hoax. You know what? If people don't know anything, stop messing with the police. This is serious. When we have these women, children, and men missing in the Indigenous and Native communities, knock it off.
Unfortunately, there's always going to be those jerks.
You're right about that, Doc. You're right about that. Just makes me furious. The officers and assisting agencies have conducted grid searches on foot. They've deployed high-tech drones and airplanes. They have searched using specific trained canines. Many of the search areas are characterized by extremely treacherous terrain, which we discussed when we were talking about Susie. Thursday, the tribe's emergency management director nearly lost her life during a search in a floating bog area. She said if she hadn't had her training and experience and the rescue operation prevented a tragedy. So due to those challenges and dangers involved in searching on foot, police are not asking for assistance from volunteers. They're using their trained personnel because it's just too dangerous out there to have people coming out. What you doing, Moo? Alea Wilson has been missing since May 12th. This is in South Dakota, Mitchell. She's 15, female, Indigenous, brown eyes, brown hair. She's only 5'3" and 120 pounds, and she has a nose piercing. So please contact the Mitchell Police Department, 605-995-8400 if you've seen her. She's a beautiful young lady. Let's hopefully she gets found. This is a warning for anyone in South Dakota or anywhere. His name is Old Lodge. He was released from prison today. He completed his full sentence, so there's no parole. He served his entire sentence, okay? No supervision. His criminal history involves sex offenses, and institutional assessments indicate he's a high risk of reoffending. Isn't that a delight? Upon release, he will be residing in Winter, South Dakota. Authorities describe him as Native American male, standing 5'10". He weighs approximately 182 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. Yes, Sarah, we're sending the wood chipper to South Dakota. I think they're going to need it up there. Because this guy is just a walking advertisement for disaster. The Department of Corrections has emphasized that the public notification is a supplemental to the standard letters sent to law enforcement and monthly notices provided to the Divisions of Criminal Investigation. Since 2011, the South Dakota Department of Corrections has issued 17 public notices concerning the release of high-risk offenders. So, all I can say to any of the men in South Dakota, protect your wives, your sisters, your daughters. Be safe out there because this guy's on the loose. And I don't know how long he was locked up, but his criminal history shows he's going to be a repeat offender until somebody stops him. And that's in Winter, South Dakota. So yeah, he's a winner, all right. He got put back on the reservation. Yeah, someone needs to take him for a walk. And he's going to, eventually he will mess with the wrong person. And it will not be pretty. Because, trust me, in Texas, they would have taken care of him by now. Trust me. Down here, they would find a reason to take him for a walk.
Well, unfortunately, if he survived his sentence, I wonder if he isn't like connected somehow to somebody. I don't know.
I don't know. Or maybe he's just crazy enough they were all scared of him. I don't know. Because it is surprising that he was able to get out okay. You know. So that's terrible. But those are our missing people. That's our story about Susan. We have too many missing women and girls and children and men. So, you know, just remember, guys, when you're out and about, pay attention. You know, too many of these young women, children, even young boys are being trafficked. It needs to stop, and it's only going to stop by us paying attention. Moo's trying to be nice right now. Oh, now she's sleeping.
Oh, she's taking a nap.
Now she's taking a nap. She's crazy, though. Want to see how crazy my girl is? This is what we call...
You are so mean.
I am mean. That's why you love me. Come here, Moo. Look what Mommy's got. Ooh, what's Mommy got?
Ooh.
Well, you gotta come closer.
You gotta come closer.
They can't see you.
Nobody can see you.
No, come here. Come here, Moo Moo. She loves this thing. But you try and take it away from her. How? Right now her paws are in my hand. Should I give it to some of the other kitties? Maybe somebody else would like some. What do you think? Should we let somebody else have? Hey, look, I think Rogue would like some. Okay.
Rogue is right here. She wants some yum yum.
Yeah, she wants a little. Here, come here, Rogue. Rogue's down here. She's going to have a little.
And Moo is making her way over to
Look,
where...
Moo, I have it. It's back. She does not take kindly to being told no. Yeah, she does. Yes, she does not like to be told no, guys. You take away her treat and she's going to go after you. This is the Moo. I really appreciate you guys all coming tonight. I know William has to have an early night, so we will make sure that he gets to bed early, because I know it's going to be tough getting to work tomorrow. Oh, that's so sweet. One Susan to another. Yes, I hope she's found too. I love you too, Sarah. You guys are the best. I have the best community that we're starting. I love you too, Krusty. You're my Dune brother. So remember, you guys, every killer counts on your silence. Don't be the reason we have to tell another story on this channel. If you know something, you say something, because it wasn't a mannequin, and it never is. So until the next time, stay informed, stay compassionate, be kind. Let's be kind to each other. That don't cost anything. I love you all. Love you, Fala, Matt. Love you, William, Dune, Sarah. I love you all. You guys are the best. I have the best people that hang out in our community. And we're just starting. We'll grow. We'll get there. It's going to take us some time, but hey. And thank you again. So you guys have a good night. Ouch. This is killing me because she is sinking her claws into my hand. Thank you, darling. I love you too. Yep. And we're also part of the wood chipper community with JD Delay. You too, Doc.
Thank you.
Because we wouldn't know what to do without Doc when he's riding the shotgun. Whoops. She knocked something over and got scared. Yeah. It didn't last long.
Didn't bother moving.
No. So, ow. Be nice. So, wood chippers, you guys, we need them for those people that, like this dude on the screen right now. He needs a wood chipper. Going out there and harming women. We don't put up with that. You guys all have a good night. I'll see you Sunday. And we'll have another great story to tell you. To make you think. And see what we can do to help people. That's what it's all about. Love you.
Good night.
Moo. Can't.